about to fade it out. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning, family. And I do consider you family. All right, Manifest Radio, Support District Radio, my Radio Phoenix. It's your man, Jay Shoulders in the house. Our Manifest Radio, you know what we do. Well, today I have two special guests in the house. Today I have Miss Divine.
What's up, y'all? What's up?
All right, all right. And I have my brother, Mr. Jack Brickhouse.
What's happening?
Panoramic lifestyle in the house.
Yeah.
Rocking the night prowler.
No doubt. Yeah, night prowler apparel, BMG, ENT.
That's right, that's
BMG
right.
management, you know. There's a lot of things happening. We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about that. Absolutely, absolutely. So, it's Saturday morning. What I like to do is normally just give a little breakdown of the week's events real quick. So, the goings on of this week, our Mr. Goofy president here just lost his mind and just had a hissy fit in the White House in front of basically the world, which is a funny thing, which is a very funny thing. But that aside, you know, I just look at the impact that it has on our community, that type of behavior and the things that's going on right now. And I brought these two particular individuals in today because in our community, man, we're not a monolithic people. We go through a ton of things. We're human, okay? We have tons of experiences just like anyone else, okay? So I mentioned the Donald Trump thing just to kind of put everything in perspective of where we need to be looking at today, okay? We need to stop looking at what's going on outside of us, and we need to start looking at what's going on internally with us. And not only as individuals, I mean collectively as a community. Okay, now is the time, and it's been several come to Jesus moments for us as a people. This is another come to Jesus moment with us as a people, man, because we're going through this third Reconstruction, and what we don't want is a repeat of the first two Reconstructions, okay? And we've gone through this before on previous shows. What happened after the end of the first Reconstruction? The Black Codes and Jim Crow. Okay, that was the response to our emancipation and our elevation, was Black Codes and Jim Crow. Okay? The second Reconstruction, what did we get? Mass incarceration and crack in the communities. Okay? And then now we're dealing with a new form of racism where it comes in a brown face. So we really, as a people, have to really start being circumspect on the things that we see on social media. We have to really start paying attention, not getting our feelings involved. One thing we have to learn, and one thing that keeps us subjugated by others, and you know what I mean when I say the others, is that they understand our ability to emote. And we emote over some of the silliest things, okay? Everything they do, we react to it. And it's time for us to start maturing as a people and stop reacting to everything. Really take a step back and really think about it, okay? You got this Russian bot thing they're talking about where these false social media sites were put up and was steering hundreds and thousands of black people to these different sites and ideologies in an attempt to coerce us to not vote. Well, that shouldn't even be a possibility to even affect us as a people, because we shouldn't even be worrying about that in the first place. We need to be worrying about how we stand, in, not socially, but economically. And that's the reason why we are in the conditions we are in today. Okay, integration was okay, but it didn't solve the problem. The problem wasn't integration. Even Martin Luther King told us that just before he passed away, just before he was taken away from us. Economics. If we do not have an economic base, like Dr. Claude Anderson says, we can't fight the system. We can't combat anything because we don't have the money. We don't have the backing. We don't have the backing of a fully funded economic base in our community. And that's why we lack. Thus, my guest today. All right. So, I said all that heavy stuff because you know that's how I do. I go there. My audience is familiar with that. People who know me know I can go for hours, talking about things that affect us as a community. Absolutely, So now that I set the bar, like my Jack said, let's get into it. So, brother and sister, first, let's start with Miss Divine. We will give our sister the light first because, she is God. Understand that. That's another conversation for another day.
I look forward to it.
Oh, yes. We will go there. God and the feminine principle. We will go there. All right. So, introduce yourself to our audience. For those, unless you've been living under a rock in the city of Phoenix in the state of Arizona over the last years or so. If you've been living under a rock.
Without giving too much away.
All right. Yeah. I didn't want to say too much. But, introduce yourself, my sister, and let the world know who you are and what you got going on.
Divine Valentin. I am originally from the Bronx, New York. I have been living out in Phoenix for over 20 years. I have been performing spoken word for over 15 years here in the Valley. And since then, I've grown to either host an open mic or teach life skills and raise some babies and
that's right.
build some local businesses and I continue to do so.
Absolutely.
Pardon me.
So no worries. People always want to get at you at the wrong time.
Somebody watching.
We got business. Hey, you know what?
Somebody checking you out.
That's the spirit. We'll roll on that.
No
We'll
doubt.
roll on that. 100%. So my brother Jack, introduce yourself. Once again, if you've been living under a rock and you're not on social media, if you don't know this brother, something's wrong.
That's good.
With you.
I like to move around a little bit.
Right,
feel
right.
incognito.
That's
right. No doubt. Mr. Jack Brickhouse. If you know the Midwest area, Gary, Indiana, Maryville, Indiana. If you're not familiar with that, that's right outside Chicago. I was actually just home last week. Got to catch up with a couple of the fellas. I mean, I was at home for like 19 hours. Like, it was crazy.
Wow.
I was in and out, so I called. So shout out to my partners there. Shout out down here is a whole different ball game now. We've expanded business wise. I gotta. We'll do more promos later, but credibility. Right? I was a co-author on Cigarettes and Bad Decisions. We'll hop into that. That's actually a free download. We'll talk about that later on. But Panoramic Lifestyle definitely in the building. Shout out to Harry and Adam over there. Night Prowler Apparel, Henry Mariner. Shout out Henry. I mean, we had a lot of partners out here.
That's right.
Shout out to Mr. Mosaic Entertainment itself for bringing me on. Let me chop it up. But right now though, it's BMG Consulting. I'm working with my man Addis, who was supposed to be here today. Ad, it ain't my fault, my brother. You was supposed to be.
Yo, that's on me, Ad. I dropped the ball on that one.
We're just jumping in. Really, I mean, there's so much talent down here in the scene. Again, we got spoken word in here. We got you doing your thing. All of the different people that we're connected with. We're kind of jumping in on the business consulting side to really jumping in and really help to expand a lot of these brands, so we can really help Phoenix, take that piece of the pie that it needs to take right now, because there's a lot of talented people down here.
Absolutely, sure. Man. This place is ripe, and now it's time to open it up, because just as I said at the beginning, it's our time now. I was thinking about this earlier this week, and thinking about just the times that we're living in, and being a student of history, I kind of just look back and just kind of see the things that transpired over the years. And there were times where I'm sure people wish they were never born, in our history. And then there were times where the most exciting times were the revolutionary times, were the times where we decided that we were going to really take the ball and run with it for ourselves. So being that, we're in this community, we're now in Phoenix, we're now in this time, in this day, in this age where it's almost perilous to not think about where you're going to be 10, 20, 15, 20 years from now. It's perilous to not be on that, to not be thinking on ways of expansion, to not be thinking on ways of community building and nation building. So with being, I know you mentioned, Divine, that you have kids.
I have children.
So break the boys down. I know you got the boys. Let us know about the boys.
I have 4 beautiful boys. My oldest is 20. My youngest will be 4, and my twins are just turned 12. Yeah.
Wow. So you raising 4 soldiers, okay? Okay, you got 4 soldiers, beautiful kids, by the way. Y'all need to see these babies. They're awesome.
Good boys.
Yeah, check out Freedom too. The little man he is awesome. And just with that name, Freedom, it's something else. But what I want to ask you, as a mom, you raising these boys, man, and you see what's going on in these times today. You're an artist, you know what I'm saying? So your soul is sensitive to the things that's going on, even in the most minute spaces where other people don't see. When you think about what's going on in this climate today, and you have 4 young sons, what comes through your mind when you know certain events happen, or what kind of goals and dreams do you have for them? Break that down as a mom.
And so, I of course see. Well, first of all, let me go here. I make sure for myself not to watch too much TV. Okay. So my children are not TV watchers. All right.
Absolutely.
They do their video games, their tablets, and all that, but it's very like on purpose. It's never idle, right? So my first approach to all this stuff that's going on, because even so, I still listen to talk radio and things of that nature. But I'm careful because I'm vision, so I don't do too much mind stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because then you end up carrying other people's things. And
Absolutely.
I'm real sensitive to that. So the first thing that comes to my mind when all this stuff is going on, especially with young black men, unfortunately, right, is I go straight to my children's psyche. You know what I mean? I go straight to their confidence and teaching them history and the real history and all of these things, and make sure that when they leave my home that they are aware. That they can say, Mom and Dad told us that, they're never really without, and they always know that they can search within. So my point is that you got to start with home first. You know what I'm saying? You can do all this nation building, but that's really neither here nor there if your home is not right.
Absolutely.
If your children are not together, you know what I'm saying? So we all go through it at home together. We all, each one teach one at home first. So when they do leave the home, the father and I can sit back and be like, they're good. You know what I mean? Are they good where they won't get shot or they won't have anything happen? I can't say that. But I can say they have a foundation. And it's not easy dealing with boys. You're dealing with testosterone. You're dealing with tempers and, stuff that, and I'm a single mother, right? They live with their father most of the time. But when they're with me, it doesn't change. I'm a real mom. I'm a real mom even when they're not with me. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
So it's there, but I don't drill them so much about what's going on out there because, again, I don't want them to be at the very forefront. I want them to be good people. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so your approach is to build them up.
Build them up.
As people.
Exactly.
And the far-reaching extent of that is that goodness reaches out.
Yeah,
into the community. It builds community on another level because basically, I'm gonna say, good behavior will be modeled just like bad behavior will be modeled.
Exactly.
So excellent.
They have to be aware. They have to be awake.
They have to. Yes. So you arm them.
Yes.
With knowledge of self.
Yes.
Before they leave the door, so they're not confused.
That's right.
No matter what's going on. So that's revolutionary when you think about it, because in this day and age, not many parents are thinking on that level, especially black parents, arming the children with knowledge of self before you handing them over to someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they do go to school. I know your oldest is in college, so he, that's still a form of indoctrination with, with the education.
That's right.
But it doesn't affect them.
And there's always a reteaching, like I forgot the word, but they may go to school all day, but and I'm sorry to say this, but to me, public school babysits your children. They're babysitters to me. Like, thank you, I'm working right now, so here I'm gonna give you my child for a little while, and then when he comes home, we're reteaching anyway.
There you go.
We have to. You know what I'm saying? And then my children are not. They don't have no fear. So they ask questions. Even with me, they'll ask questions to me, and I'll be like, can I get a minute? Oh, hold on.
I
wasn't ready.
But
they always get the truth.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I never strive to steer them wrong.
Beautiful. Brother Jack, I know you a daddy as well.
Yeah. No,
so,
absolutely.
With things going on, and I know you from Gary, Indiana.
Yeah.
That's not only the home of Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
But that was, one of them held down the murder rate for quite a few years in this country. So,
That's
you know, with that knowledge, man, and being a father as well, how do you, you know, looking at, you know, you see what the sister does, she arms the boys with knowledge itself before they leave the door. And for black men, that's extremely important, because by 4th grade, like the brother Dr. Amos Wilson said, a young black boy checks out. He's already done because he don't see himself. So what's your method? What's your approach in how you rear your kids? Not rear your kids, but how you guide them and teach them and raise them?
No, man, it's so I kind of have a multifaceted approach, and I'll kind of follow up on what Ms. Devine was talking about, because I actually had the opportunity over the past year to be in the school system, both a Title I school, right, and then a charter school. And so I got to see it from a teacher's perspective, from an administrative perspective, not on I'm going to you get to go to a parent-teacher conference, you get a glimpse, and is what it is. But every day, I got to see what students went through. It's just like at work. Like if at work every day is not a great day. Like if your kids got to watch you at your job, right? You don't come in every day and deliver. You know what I mean? Because if you go up with them all night, you're tired. Or you say, if my boss come in here one more time talking crazy, this might be the day. So the kids feel that same way. It's like, hey, if this teacher comes over here, I didn't eat last night. Like at the Title I school, I think like 90% of the kids were receiving free lunch. So on the weekends, they were always worried about if these kids were going to eat. So outside of trying to teach curriculum, and I guess that's what I'm going to here, is there's a lot of other things that happen. Like if you can just show up and now most of the classes are like 47 minutes. So in 47 minutes in that type of school system, right, you have, what I was able to witness is, you take a classroom with 30 kids. You got 5 who are like super achieving because they have a super supportive system. Then you have like a mid 10 or 15 or so that can go either way depending on the day. They're intelligent, but some days they may have some things personally going on, so they can't perform. And then you have the people with no support, right? So, but as a teacher now, you got to piece this puzzle together in 47 minutes every day with the kids now going home saying, hey, the teacher did this to me, and you like, what? Let me call that teacher, and the teacher's like you said, the teachers don't have any power because the kids aren't fearful because they took paddling out of the school system. And I found something out that in Arizona you can still paddle. State is legal here. It's just the teachers don't do it because they don't want to deal with the student. Think about it. Somebody paddle a kid now, what happens? The mom and the father's on Instagram.
It's gonna be a bad day.
Make it home.
The teacher don't make it home.
They might not make it home.
Right.
It's a bad day.
Right.
So then,
how you figure?
And so then if you say, they're there to babysit, well then a lot of people don't take up the time on the back end like you do. So they may be at school, and then you say, well, let's follow up. Some people it is, you go here and this is your daycare from K through 12. And then when you get home, whatever, So, I know there was one young lady who was missing school because she had to babysit her sister. This was in like 7th to 8th grade. All right, so you have that in the classroom with the super disciplined person. And the other thing I didn't like to throw around was the word smart. So, these kids are smarter. It's not necessarily a characteristic. Smart. It's about discipline. Right. So if you go home, if your teacher says here's a study guide, and you go home and do the study guide, the test is a breeze, right? If the teacher says read chapter 1, and you read chapter 1, and they say the quiz is going to be over this, and all the books have the little questions in the back where you can practice. That's what those kids do. They do the same thing that they do as adults.
I see what
you see what I'm saying? But they're in a system where it's this group of kids, this group of kids, this group of kids all trying to learn in the same environment. So it gets tough. So coming back to me, I got my young man turned 18 in February. Shout out to Miles. He's out working. He's had a little bit more difficult time. He's trying to adapt. He came down. He's been down here with me since 2014, 2015. My daughter's still back home. But I don't know. I think he came here and had to hustle. He came with that, but he's lived here now for a while. You know what I mean? This West Coast is a little bit different. Like if your hustle wasn't instilled with you, and you start growing up here, and there's palm trees, and it's warm weather, and all of this going on, right? It's hard to keep that because he's living that now. So the last he has the grind. Like he's smarter. I remember he was a part of they had a business club I put him in at his high school. And the teacher told him, like, they were selling cookies for whatever. He sold it out in like 5 minutes. The teacher is like, I've never seen this sell out this fast. So he understands how to navigate life is just the academic, thing that
So
he's
struggling
with that, but it doesn't mean that he won't make it. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
exactly.
so we're working with him there to get that finished up. But he got his first job like 6-7 months ago, and he's doing his thing now. So that, and then my daughter, she just finished playing violin. I had to fly back for an orchestra concert.
Nice.
So that was super cool. But so I guess I get to the way I parent is I just try to instill core values.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because you have to. When I'm doing business coaching, I can give people the tools to put in the box. But if you never crack open the toolbox and say, I don't know how to use this hammer, but if I play around with it, I'll get that form right. So that's kind of what I give them. So I tell them, how important it is to adapt and have adaptability. Be able to work when you're uncomfortable.
That's right.
Like my daughter, I always mess with her because if we can play games or she has to do something under time, like she panics when I'm like, it's just the clock. Like, don't worry about it. Like, if you know it, just deliver. It's okay.
Right.
Right. So, but I always try to help her with that when I can. But it's just instilling those core things, because they got to learn how to. I don't know how their life is gonna play out.
Right.
I know how my life is playing out, and I got to deal with it. And I can say, hey, here's some stuff that I figured out that maybe you can put in your box. You know what I mean? And this is how you use it. But you still got to try it to make it work in your life. So just, instilling those core things. And we definitely still talk about, with race. I mean, it's what it is.
Right.
So you just, we watch it when something happens, especially if they come and say, hey, did you hear this happen? I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, what do you think happened? Well, this is normally how this scenario plays out. These are things you can avoid to be in that scenario and stay vigilant.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of the approach that I take.
All right, cool. So you arm them with practical skills.
Yeah.
You arm them with knowledge too.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Because they have to
definitely.
operate.
Yeah.
And the sister does it on the back end by saying, hey, yeah, I know what you just heard, but let me give you the real.
Let me give it to you.
Here it is. Here it is.
For sure.
And my approach is kind of the cross between the both of you,
Right.
where I have two sons, of my own. My sons, Rahab and Kahan, are good young men, you know what I mean? But I made sure that their names say it all. I instilled from birth, what I felt how they should operate on this planet,
Right.
on a level that's not physical, on a level because we understand the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Right.
So at the time that I gave them these names, I was on a journey myself,
Right.
and I was at a specific peak at each point that each one of them was born. So, I named my son Rahab, which means to overcome. And he's living that, he's 20 years old, he's living that spirit every day where challenges are nothing to him. This dude, and he goes through it because things come at him. Right. And he always manages to maintain, he's never out of sorts. And that's a beautiful thing. My youngest son, his name is Kahan, which means priest or teacher. And he operates on a core leadership value that he doesn't even know he has. And once he wakes up to that, it's a whole, the game is over. Because, and I say all of that, and I have two beautiful daughters as well.
Yeah.
Azania, which means heard of God, Azania Hawa, which means heard of God, or God hears me. Another one, she's powerful, 5'9", powerhouse. Okay, when her spirit, and Azania means, like I said, means heard of God, and she carries herself in a manner where people orbit around her. Okay, and that's a beautiful thing because you draw souls to you. Where the challenge she has to learn is to guide in positivity and not negativity.
Right.
So that's her battle. And then my oldest, Erin, she's a mom out in Texas right now. Shout out to my baby girl and to my grandbaby, Sarai. And she gave her a Hebrew name. Sarai means princess. And she is that.
Right.
She's 4 years old and is a princess, for real. But I mention all of that because we're all parents. We all see what's going on, in these days and times. We're raising beautiful children, and what we're doing is we're arming them the right way. We're arming them with knowledge of self. We're arming them with practicality. We're arming them with life skills beyond what they're seeing in the classroom, beyond what they're seeing on TV. My children are not heavy television watchers either.
Right.
I cut cable 5-6 years ago, maybe, while they were still little.
Yeah.
You know, you talking middle school. You know.
Yeah.
So wait, let's not gloss over that. So you cut the cord on some young people.
Oh,
What happened?
absolutely.
It wasn't. Oh, I cut the cord and then
Yeah.
it's that. Like,
No,
what happened? What was
it
it?
literally. I'm
What
not
was
kidding you,
that?
my brother. It with the onslaught of the cell phone, there was no need for cable.
Right.
Goodbye cable.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't hear a peep.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Not a
you,
sound.
You boosted up
Yeah.
your wireless plan because I know
All
you
I-
that data up.
All I did was get the Wi-Fi.
Right.
There's no need for
For
cable.
the
No
Right.
doubt.
So
Yeah.
they're exposed to a lot of
Yeah,
information,
sure.
but they're not sitting there in
Right.
front of a tube
For sure.
like we were.
Yeah.
In
You
my
know-
generation,
you know-
we were TV fed.
And I don't mean to cut you off.
No,
but
absolutely not.
I you know, I think it's so important too because I know that even when my children are watching movies, right, that they're still sensitive. They still, you know, they pay attention.
Yes.
They cry when certain situations happen in a movie,
Yes.
or they get angry, or they'll. Or even for the little one, for Freedom, he'll look back on a situation in his own life, looking at a movie and be like, "Mommy," you know, and compare.
Wow.
So it's just, I think television desensitizes, and for your children or our children or your children out there that are still sensitive, I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Especially with everything going on, but at least they're not constantly hit by it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not a constant barrage
Yeah.
of this useless
Yeah,
information
yeah.
that only confuses them,
Yeah,
you know,
no
at
doubt.
the end.
Mhm.
Because then, and I'm sure we've noticed patterns as parents, as we watch our kids grow, you see the things that influence them, and you can hear
That's right.
words that are not theirs
That's
coming
right.
out of their mouths.
Yes.
And that's where we got to step in and
Yes.
kind of correct certain
Yes.
things. So,
And I think it's important too that we don't look at age as a
Yes.
right.
yes,
It
don't
doesn't
do it.
even
Mm-mm.
matter, yo.
Mm-mm.
1 year old, months old, out the womb old, in
Mm-hmm.
the womb old. You know what I'm saying? That you don't stop teaching your
Yes.
babies. Like it never ends. You know, like just because he's 2 and can't speak yet, don't mean he can't speak.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Children are always communicating,
Yes.
and they're always paying attention to you. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Always
Yeah.
paying attention to you.
Yeah,
And that's,
always.
oh,
Very
man.
observant. Very
Man.
observant.
So you were the type of mom that spoke to the babies in the womb.
Yeah, big
In
time.
utero,
Yeah.
you were speaking to them. You
Yeah.
were talking to them.
I sure did.
So then it's no surprise
Yeah.
that when they came out,
Right.
they came out the way they came.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's
Mhm.
science,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So it's not personal.
No.
It's spiritual and it's
That's
science.
right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
You actually. So we'll go into that a little bit in the
Okay,
next
sure.
segment
Mhm.
where we're tapping into a little bit of that spirituality
Sure.
and how that actually works. You know what I'm saying? Brother Jack, I see you over there. Getting it in.
Yeah, give you some love out there.
That's right. That's right. So, well, all right. So, thank you both. Beautiful. This is beautiful. We're having a great conversation, and we're gonna go to our first break. And on the next segment, I want to go into a little bit of that, and then we'll go into some entrepreneurship things like that.
No
This
doubt
is
about
I Manifest. This is your man Jay Shoulders. Happy Saturday morning to you, family. Support District Radio, my radio Phoenix.